Howdy, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this week's Seaside Chat. I am your MC, Chloe Dannenfeltzer, and I'm so excited to introduce our guest speakers, Mario Marquez, who is our aquaculture specialist at Texas Sea Grant, and Bobby Edwards, who is the manager of the Texas Oyster Company. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks for inviting us.
Thanks for having me.
So I am Texas Sea Grant's aquaculture specialist. And right now I'm really focusing on oysters, oyster mariculture that just started in Texas. Obviously, House Bill got passed in 2019, and it really just it started in 2020 when it got adopted in. So the thing is that Texas Parks and Wildlife is a managing agency to oversee this, and Texas is the last coastal state to actually allow oyster mariculture in the state, in the entire United States. So the thing is that, I mean, we're last but not least, but it allows us to really look at other states and kind of learn from them, see, the good and the bad that's happened. And the thing is that, Texas has a lot of water, and it's very nutrient rich. It's very warm water. So there's a lot of potential to grow oysters and really just let this industry just boom. Obviously, Texas is dominated in wild oysters, but we're doing that. So my background, I'm from Texas, born and raised, but I went to go study aquaculture in Florida at the university. And then I came back here, and now I'm really just helping the state, whether it be farmers or distributors, suppliers, farmers, agents, both state and federal, just and researchers at universities, just really put together a big network and just let this thrive. And then I'll introduce Bobby. He's actually a good friend of mine. We've been friends for several years, and we're just lucky that he was able to join us today. So Bobby, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Bobby Edwards. I am the general manager of the Oyster Company. We do business as the Texas Oyster Company. We are the first commercial oyster farm in the state of Texas. We are permit G-0001. And we're based in Copano Bay, just north of Corpus Christi. I've been doing oyster farming, first introduced to it in 2017 by Mario at Florida A&M University in Tallahassee, Florida. And then we started oyster farming in 2018 using the Oyster Grow floating bag system. And I was actually introduced to one of the applicants for the that were interested in farming, Mr. Brad Lomax, and I applied for the general manager position. And I was also able to move down here and start with Texas A&M AgriLife down in Flower Bluff, just south of Corpus Christi at the hatchery. We are actually the first oyster hatchery in the state of Texas to produce baby oysters. So I've been here since April, and a lot has happened, and a lot of good, a lot of great things have happened, and I look forward for a bright future, which is why I came to Texas.
Yeah. Thanks, Bobby. It's funny because your classical training is in algae, but you know how oysters and algae kind of go hand in hand. So you've been able to really just kind of like adapt to both and just know both, which is obviously important for the industry to like know how to grow them, obviously do that, and but also know the science behind it when you can focus on the hatchery. But so before we start talking about the oysters, I was actually going to ask you, so what's the update, what's the status on the AgriLife hatchery? I know it's managed by Dr. Chris Hollenbeck, and you guys are doing that, but tell us about the northern strains, southern strains, what you guys are doing for the genetics and all that stuff.
So at the hatchery, our main objective is to increase the viability of oysters based off genetic variability. Pretty much the state of Texas has two sets of different oysters. Pretty much everything above Corpus Christi all the way to the Florida Keys is the same oyster when you genetically type them. But just south of Corpus Christi all the way down to Mexico is a different strand. So the state of Texas, they actually did something good and made regulations where they keep those separate. So basically where I'm at, Copano Bay to Corpus Christi Bay is a mixing location. So these we can use both. But at the hatchery, we're trying to make it, we're not genetically modifying them, we're crossbreeding them to make oysters more stable in low salinity and in high salinity. Based off this year's rainfall, there's been a lot of freshwater influence into a lot of the bay system, which has lowered the salinity in a lot of places. So we want to make an oyster that is genetically able to handle those shifts in salinity. And we're hoping next year that we can actually have a commercial harvest, spawn commercially to help some of the farmers in the state.
Yeah, that's true about the selective breeding. It's funny because I was actually talking to one of the other NOAA Sea Grant Extension agents, and he worked for about 25 years with the Department of Health and Human Services, and they're the ones that are actually in charge of like monitoring and making sure if areas are approved or not for harvesting. But but they focus on wild, obviously. But the thing is that TPWD didn't want to reinvent the wheel, and they were just like, okay, well, if they're already testing it, then the areas that you can obviously harvest commercially or recreationally, you can also use it to, we'll use the same spots to harvest oysters. But the thing is that because we got a freshen event that happened this summer. It was crazy. It's very rare to happen, but for 4 months, I mean, where I'm at in Matagorda Bay and Palacios, our salinity was below 5 parts per thousand for about 3 months. And I think it was kind of similar in Copano Bay, but that caused a lot of die-off to where today I was looking at the harvesting, the wild harvesting areas for commercial and recreation, and they basically closed off almost the entire, almost, but not completely, a lot of area in Matagorda Bay, and I know one in Galveston Bay. So.
Yeah, I know here in as soon as wild oyster season actually started here in Copano, we could see about 50, I guess 50 dredgers out in Copano Bay.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So that was, and we actually talked with one of the wild oyster farmers the other day, and he said they are finding a lot of dead, but he said they are actually, if they go down a little further, they can find a lot of alive oysters. So
like further, like where,
yeah,
like further, like
down.
more, oh, like further south.
No, they said down in the sediment. So he said the top layer is a lot of dead oysters.
I thought they would be more. I thought they would be buried. That's weird.
Yeah,
but I mean, I'm not a wild oyster farmer. Neither are you. So
me either. And talking about the salinity, our salinity is still low. It's like around 8 right now, still less than 10. And we did a 100-year historical search on Copano Bay before we even decided to get our lease here. And the salinity's never been below 12 before in the last 100 years. And since I've been here, it's been less than 12 pretty much since April.
See, I'm not gonna I don't want to be that guy, but how good was their data 100 years ago? Like, they didn't have the refractometers, the equipment, but I mean, I wonder how they were measuring that salinity. I mean, I guess there was a way to do it. It's not that hard, but I wonder if it would be as accurate as it is now. But no, it's crazy. And obviously it's because of the rains, but also like there's a lot of that. I mean, Copano Bay. I think I forgot what river flows out into Copano Bay.
We have the Mission River.
The Spiritu, also like there's Spiritu Santo, I think.
Yeah, there's 2 rivers that flow out of here. But
I mean, but it hasn't really, your oysters are still pretty much growing like gangbusters, right?
Correct. Yeah, we are still seeing the normal mortality that we account for, which is what, 20% up front.
Okay.
So I did a count last week. We tumbled through about over half our orchard, about 750,000. And we only had about, my estimation, around 8% death. So less than 70,000, which sounds like a lot number, but when you're looking at
It's not.
750,000, it's not.
It's not. It's to be expected, which is crazy because when you're talking about huge numbers like that, but obviously you guys have like how much seed? I think you guys got 1.5 million seed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is really
You know,
awesome.
they've been in the water for 7 weeks now.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I saw the pictures and it looks, I mean, they're growing fast. But just for a reference, I'm sharing my screen real quick. Obviously this is the Texas coast. You guys are kind of in this general area. So you guys are pretty well protected. But yeah, you can get a lot of freshwater inflow into these areas.
Yeah, it takes a while. We are very protected, which is good for,
Yeah, but I'm
storage
like,
everything,
but
but
the flush rate, like, since it's back there, like
it takes a while for the salt water to get up here.
Yeah, it'll probably linger on, which is kind of scary, but it's something that they should really account for. Obviously, like farmers taking into account. But do you have pictures of your seed, man?
Yeah, let me share my screen. Oh, wrong button. Share.
And I know the second the second harvest oil, the second permit that goes out to the Kaplans, and I know that we have right now we have Gordon. He's basically you, but for them, and I know that they have oysters in the water. I wonder how theirs are going.
They're doing well. They have their Slendy. Last time I talked with them, their center was around 20.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
Fluctuating, of course, with the rain. Sometimes it's 12, sometimes it's 20.
Yeah.
Because I know this picture.
Yeah.
All right. So this is a handful of baby oysters.
What did you get them at?
The average mean size was 6 millimeters.
So you got them at 6 mil.
Yeah.
Cool.
Somewhere 4 mil, somewhere. When we say mil, we're just talking about millimeter size. Just for everybody to know, I may say R6s or R4s, R12s. That's just referring to a millimeter size for oyster farming. We're in the metric system. But to make it easier, I always talk about 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3 inches for wild oyster farmer. Wild oysters for market, that'd be at least 3 inches, and the difference between us is our oyster market is around 2.5 inches. That's a perfect saltine cracker size oyster. If you prefer them on a cracker, or a perfect one for just on a half shell, eaten raw. It tastes real great. But these oysters here, they've been in the water for 6 weeks now.
That's so crazy. I love when they start as babies because they grow so fast. It's really encouraging.
And then once they get a 1/2 inch, we get ready to tumble them. We actually have a cool video, if I can find it on here, of us tumbling our oysters. Pretty much just a big tube. It's about 8 feet long. It has different size holes in them, from like 1/4 inch up to 1 inch on one tube. And we just put them in there. It cleans them up. And next, they have a fingernail, just like we do when they start to grow. There's a nail that will grow over, and we have to cut that like we do our fingernails. That way, it doesn't keep growing longer and longer, because it's just wasted energy doing that. Yeah. These are triploids. Mario, you gonna tell them this triploid, diploid?
Yeah. So the thing is that we have there's diploids, which are kind of regular oysters that can reproduce, and they can produce gonads for sperm and eggs for reproduction. But then there's also, with selective breeding, it's not genetic modification according to USDA. So you can always argue with them about that if you're contemplating that. But the thing is, selectively bred to where these are actually they put an extra chromosome in there, and they're triploids. So these honestly, they're sterile. They cannot breed in the wild. I mean, okay, 0.001% can, but you know, it's negligible. But the thing is that what's really cool about the triploids is that since there's no energy expenditure go into creating sperm and eggs, which can be a lot for the oyster, it goes into just their biomass. So you're getting these guys to grow faster, fatter, better, just at a quicker pace, you know, quicker. And the thing is that, I mean, Texas has such, I mean, you know, we know this in the Gulf of Mexico, it has such a quick growth rate. So I mean, we can grow oysters to a 3-inch mark, like what, in about 7 to 9 months, you know.
Yeah, the oysters that on the previous picture, they went through this machine. This is called tumbler, like I was mentioned earlier. So it has a bunch of holes in it, and the oysters fall out these black bins. But the very end are our biggest oysters, and we had about 1% of all the oysters, so about 8,000, were over half an inch already, and those are our fast growers. And they will be. I will have some available for April going into May.
That's so fast. That's so quick.
6 to 7, possibly 8 months, based off season, of course.
That's awesome. So the thing is that the tumbler, the way I explain it to people, it does sort it, but it tumbles and sorts. But I always explain it as a glorified penny sorter, like a coin sorter. You know, you just put all your coins in there, and then it just kind of separates it by size.
There's a video. So I drop them in the conveyor. Mara, you've seen this, but you haven't seen it in action.
Yeah.
So this works in variable speed. We can go slower, we can go faster based off the oysters. And then they just fall down to this tube.
Yeah, and then they just go in. You kind of have to give them a little bit of a shove sometimes, and then they just slide in. That's awesome. And it cleans them up pretty.
Correct.
Too. So what have you seen? Obviously, okay, so I know you've been a farmer in Florida and stuff like that, obviously in the Gulf of Mexico, but what have you seen different as in environmental conditions and like, how is the water different in Texas? Like, I know that it's windy, like you said, it's windier, it's choppier water.
It's very windy.
What are the pros and cons that you're seeing?
So coming from Florida, obviously it is windy, but not compared to here. It's always windy here, in my opinion. And the sediment is totally different. Florida is mostly limestone. So when we're trying to drive in anchors, at least in Florida, we don't need, I have hook anchors, which are about 66 inches long. And right now I came, the ones I put in here in Copano Bay, I cannot even reach the anchor line because it's about a foot under sediment already still. Because we drove them in almost 6 feet. That's how soft the ground is here. So that's one of the things I was trying to figure out something new.
Either put out more anchors or put them in deeper. I mean, with a bigger disc.
Yeah.
But that's scary in case of a hurricane. That's scary in case of a hurricane, man.
And none of that, just the wind. A lot of people have been asking about death and stuff like that, especially a lot of the crabbers and the fishermen. But we haven't had any issues, and everybody in the area knows what we're doing. I wear this hat into Walmart in Portland, in Corpus Christi. They're like, "Oh, you're the oyster farmer guy." And I'm like,
"Really?"
Yeah. So I stopped wearing it now because
I stopped wearing my Sea Grant one when it's like when you're doing your personal shopping and stuff, because you'll get stopped.
Yep. I was like, oh, I don't want to stay 30 minutes longer talking, but it's very good. Everyone's very interested. So we're thrilled about that.
Yeah. And also, just a side note, the cool thing about oyster farming, about, growing oysters, is that Texas has the oyster season, which is from November to April. But the thing is that what's cool about growing them in like over here is that it's all year round. So you can always have a steady supply of oysters just growing and coming in. So
yeah, we have in Copano Bay, we have 8 acres leased from the state. Right now we have about 135 floating cages on there. Our floating cages they hold 6 bags, which are about 3 inches in diameter, 12 inches wide, and 36 inches long. So and I have 6 of those bags in a floating cage.
Yeah.
I can actually share or at least some pictures from our lease, actually, we took drone footage to get some really good pictures. So this is about 700 feet in the air. The white thing is our boat, of course. It's a 24-foot skiff to put this in relations. And then we have our cages.
How long are your lines? Like how many cages per line?
Right now, these are 15 if we put them properly. Trial and error, of course. 15 cages per line at 175 feet per line. We are extending that up to 20 cages per line. That way we can get more oysters in the water.
Okay.
And these are, obviously you see the spacing. This will get better. As you can see, we start with this one first, and then we put this one in, but the spacing between these compared to this is different. And that's just different people putting it in.
Yeah. There's
So-
error. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm always one of the types of farmers that was super particular about that. But it's hard. It's really hard to put those anchors in. And you
Yeah,
guys had a scuba dive to put in the anchors, right?
Yep, I was diving. My assistant manager.
How deep is your lease?
Average is about 8 feet.
Okay.
Where the boat is right now, it's 10 feet, and it's 6 feet right here. In the winter, then in summer months, it's like 8 feet here and almost 12-ish feet. Because this is where my arrow is pointer. That way is towards land, and we have to be at least 1,000 feet from land. North is directly this way, going towards the corner.
Yeah.
That way, and we are going to put cages all through this way. From
Where's your predominant wind coming from? What direction?
southeast, right through here.
Okay, so that's
So
why you
that's-
can see that they're bowed that way.
Yep. We have to, when these, I've always been told, even when I visited in January of this year, I met with guys and they told me that we have these strong northerly winds come through, which are going to come this way. But the best thing about our northern winds is if the cages pop off for some random reason,
They'll go to land.
yeah, go check the land.
Yeah, that's helpful. I remember in Florida when a hurricane, I think we got 2 hurricanes come through. I remember guys were finding their cages like even, oh man, like half a mile inland in the marsh.
Yep.
And I remember you were just walking through the marsh and you started finding cages too.
Yep. Finding cages, finding bags.
Yeah. Did any of them have oysters?
The single floating bags did.
Yeah, I believe it.
Hey, just sometimes randomly, I'd be just Kayla and I would go out on the boat just for fun, and we'd see a floating oyster bag just out the bay, floating around by itself. Luckily, they have tags, so we call the person. That's one good thing. We have to have all of our cages marked with our ID on it. So, you know, the rules and regulations that for Texas are very different than Florida. But as an environmental scientist, I understand pretty much all of them for the reasoning.
Yeah, like I hear some of the farmers, it's a hassle to like, because they require you to tag every single piece of equipment that goes out there. But the thing is that, yeah, it's a hassle at first, but after that, like you're kind of glad after you do it so that you can kind of recoup your stuff in case it get lost.
Yeah. When we first put our first line out right here, we put some cages on it, and we had to go find 2 of them because we had a random storm come through and popped 2 off. But
have you all tried sinking your cages yet in case of a hurricane, or just to prep, or I don't know, just
no, that's something I'm going to do in spring when it warms back up and the water gets deeper.
Yeah,
we're going to practice sinking cages because I mean I'm doing an amendment for our lease. So right now we're only permitted to go this way with our cages.
Yeah.
Instead of this way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm putting an amendment in for us to go this way, even though I already did it, but they said that's fine. Because I did not submit the conditional permit at the very beginning.
Yeah, you weren't here yet.
So that's why I told them, I was like, well, this is the best place for this. Okay, just submit it. So I'm doing that. And we can spit up to 3,000 cages on this lease.
No,
So we're
that's a
talking
lot.
about almost 8 million oysters at max capacity if we wanted to in 8 years. That's one good thing about the 10-year agreement with the state is you can have a 10-year plan. So, and then now I'm just trying to get some more baby horses already. I just feel like we just got these. Now I'm trying to schedule in my next spawn already.
Did you guys have, I know that we talked about it, but it's like you guys basically had trouble trying to get seed for a while.
Correct.
Yeah, that's kind of hard because Texas doesn't have a Texas hatchery yet. I mean, they broke ground as of like a week ago, but we still have to get them from out of state.
Yeah, that's I'm glad they made that rule that we can have that 7-year grace period. 6 years,
Yeah, it's
all that.
till December 31st of 2027. So we've got what, 5 more years, I think.
Yeah, so that's I already have an agreement
6.
with a hatchery out of state. As long as they produce for us, we will buy from them. But obviously, I like to have a second hatchery or even a third. I have 3 hatcheries I'm working with. That way, I can get diverse seed and find out who produces the best seed for that year. Because it's hard to find a hatchery, of course, that produces great seed every year. Because sometimes it always happens. Like we sent oysters to Alabama to a hatchery. A hurricane wiped it out.
Yeah.
We sent oysters to University of Southern Miss. A hurricane wiped it out. We sent oysters to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, to a private hatchery. The oysters were wiped out because the hurricane knocked the power out, so they lost flow through. They all died because they suffocated. None of that was. And I was like, well, I'm glad I had 4 hatcheries in because all of them came out for us.
Yeah, I was actually talking to Rusty Grice. He's the Mississippi, Alabama oyster specialist, and he was saying that that's the biggest problem right now they're having outside of Texas is seed is hard to come by because of the hurricanes that happened last year.
Yep.
And I mean, and these hatcheries are barely coming back, but I know it takes a while to just get the algae right. And then after that, try to start conditioning your oysters to where they can just spawn. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I'm sending some more seed, more broodstock, which is wild oysters I have under my dock here. Send them to Triple N in Baton Rouge. No, actually, the University of Southern Miss next week. And then December, I'm sending them to Triple N in Baton Rouge, Louisiana again.
That's Steve Pollock, right?
Yep.
I think. Yeah.
So that way we can get some spring and summer seed already before hurricane season gets.
Are you going to try to get triplets, diploids, or both?
Both.
Okay.
So my original plan was to get 30% diploids and 70% triploids because the triploids, they get they grow fast, and if you don't get them out, you can lose a lot because they just run out of energy, in my opinion.
Yeah, they kind of like, how does I've heard it from like Bill Walton. It's like they burn fast. No, they burn bright, but they burn quick.
Yeah, but I want diploids also. That way, because Texas like this, they like those big oysters still, and our diploids will be able to compete with the wild oyster size.
Yeah, they do. That's true. And also, I mean, having the diploids on your lease really does help for restoration purposes, because they will spawn, and then the larvae can just go out and like attach to something hard in the bay, and then just boom, you get an oyster reef. It's pretty cool.
But you can see all the food in the water of our lease. This is Swan Lake back here. It's not a real lake. It's attached to the bay, so it's salt water. We found one of our cages set up here on the corner. That way we know we found a cage right here before. Just somehow the lines pop loose. They don't snap. They just enough movement in the lines and they get loose somehow. So we've learned a lot about securing our knots, securing our bags because the wind, it's very windy.
Yeah. And you get that constant chop, constant boom,
correct,
boom, boom, like on a daily basis.
And we're actually increasing our rope size
Oh, what you guys went with? What, 3/8?
Well, this our main. So this is the main line.
The main line's 1/2 inch, right? Typically.
Correct. So we went to 3/4 after. We have one more row we're going to do. That way, if we get babies, multiple babies each year, we have up to 4 hatcheries we could get seed from. That way it grows and we move it along down the line.
Oh, is that how you guys have it separated out? So
Yeah.
each line is a different. That's cool for like research purposes.
Yeah.
Are you guys working with AgriLife to maybe help them do some research or anything like that?
We are helping with AgriLife. We're trying to anyway. I always try to separate myself between the farmer and then the hatchery. We at the hatchery, we have our full permit to install. We have a little research safe off Corpus Christi Bay off of the University Beach. The line's already installed. We actually installed another line, which has 10 cages on this far corner, this northwest side corner for AgriLife, Texas A&M AgriLife.
Okay.
So once we are having some issues right now with regulations about having diploids from
research oysters on a commercial farm
on our lease.
Yeah.
And then taking them from our lease to Corpus Christi lease and back to the hatchery.
Yeah.
Even though it's all the same mixing area, but Dr. Hollenbeck, he's working with them to get that taken care of, because obviously we're not going to, mess anything up, breaking any rules or regulations.
Well, but so what's I know you guys are following right. So, but what's TPWD worried about though?
Main thing is we have to get everything tested still, which is normal.
Okay.
But I haven't been that far in a conversation yet, but I believe it's just trying to keep the genetic differences as of right now, just for the research. We're trying to figure that out.
Okay, I feel you. Yeah. Any question? Do we have any questions? Hey, Gordon, do you have any questions? Can you yeah. How's your lease going, Gordon? If he's there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. How's your thing going in Galveston, man?
We're learning a lot.
Yeah.
Good. That's
Real quick
too. We had that big storm come through. What was it? 3 weeks ago?
Yep.
3.5 weeks ago. We had gusts to 55 miles an hour.
Yeah, and you're using a different grow out method. So the thing is that Bobby and his farm, they're using oyster grow, and you guys are kind of doing different things. I think the majority of it is floating bags, correct?
That's correct. We are doing 99% floating bags. I just installed our 2 experimental oyster grow cages yesterday. On the lines, just to see how they're going to react, because after that storm, we actually lost bags off the lines, and clips.
Where were the weak points at? Did you notice anything similar between the bags or
clips?
The clips.
The clips actually either slipped off or they actually broke, the Zapco clips. And so we've gone to a little retrofit right now, and we're putting 3 clips on a bag.
I think the oyster industry is going to evolve with Texas based off the wind here.
Yeah, they're gonna have to modify stuff. This is a whole different beast.
Oh,
and
I'm just gonna.
Y'all can keep talking. I'm just gonna share my screen to show a general area where Gordon's farm is. So this is obviously Galveston Bay, and they're kind of right off Goat Island, correct?
Gordon? That's correct. We're right about in between that the tip, the southern tip, and that first inlet area.
Yeah.
And the wind luckily was coming like off of San Leon. You see San Leon over there to the wind was coming from that direction, and it blew all of the bags over to Goat Island.
Oh, wow. Well, at least it wasn't that far.
We found all but one. I
Yeah.
was just, my heart was just pumping as we're walking along the shoreline looking for them. And here they are. They start appearing. They're over in the grass beds. They're actually up on the little beaches.
Yeah.
And we were there a day and a half after the strongest winds. And
Did you guys have more time? Did you guys have a lot of depth because of that, or no?
Actually, it ended up that it looks like we saved almost everything. I did have some bags actually open up, and that's how we actually lost some. The ones that we collected off of the shore and in the grass beds out there, they survived. They're doing very, very well right now.
Good.
And
Are you seeing the about the size that Bobby showed earlier? Like pretty good size?
Actually, I've got some that are about 1.5 inches.
Good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man,
They're
good salinity.
yeah, we're at 20 part. We were at 15 was the lowest that I ever found, and we're back up to 20 parts here in the last 2 weeks.
What's the water temperature up there?
Right now we're dropping pretty quick. We were about, I think, the last that I saw was official was like 68, but I think we're down to about 63.
Okay.
And but I mean, they're just blowing and going. And
that's awesome, man.
I'm looking at probably changing out. We don't have our tumbler yet, and I'm a little, I mean, other people that I've talked to said just take them and put them into the 9mm. And don't even tumble them. Just go ahead once they get up to size, that you're not going to lose anything. Just put them in there, okay? And then we'll tumble them.
There's
them a little later.
Yeah, there's different methodologies, ideologies, kind of thing like that on that. Like I personally don't have a reason or find a reason to tumble until they're already like 1.5 inches. Like when they're already kind of medium sized, then that's when I start to really sort them out by size. But that depends on the farmer. That depends on the farm. And I know Bobby and his team, they're sorting and tumbling already.
Right.
But obviously they already have a tumbler, so that helps.
Right. Ours is coming probably in about 2 weeks.
Are you gonna plan on having it on a boat, or are you gonna do it on land?
It's an 8-footer, so I think we can do both.
Yeah.
If we want to. Right now we're looking at setting it up at our boat dock. But we will have the capacity of putting it on the boat if we want to.
Okay.
I still have to do a few modifications to the boat to give us a little more room up in the front end. We have a center console, so we're getting things arranged so that I can move that console back and have more room up in the front. So.
Yeah, I'm actually about to order a tumbler for Texas Sea Grant, but it's for more demoing, like doing workshops. So mine is gonna be like a little 3-footer. Like it's a baby one. It's so cute. It's awesome.
But you need.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so I've actually when we started the company, I know that Bobby and I we would actually we'd borrow
Co-op.
the co-ops, and that was it was a PVC one, and it didn't even have a motor, and there was three guys, one pouring them in, one separating them out, and then the one of them, and it was typically me, like actually by hand turning the actual thing.
Long days on the water.
Long days on the water. My forearms would just burn after that. But I mean, it is what it is. So
Yeah. Well, we did this retrofit on the bags and going to the 3 clips. That's the best thing that we've found so far.
just having that extra clip of security, just in case.
Right.
Cool.
We did have the long line clips, the stainless steel, and we had ordered some 1,200-pound tests to attach them to the bags, and a PVC inside the bag, and then with the 1,200-pound through the PVC to give it some more surface area to so it didn't pull through the bags.
Yeah.
And well, I even had the 1,200-pound test break. I don't know if it's just so rigid that it was moving back and forth, and finally it just snapped.
Yeah, that can happen. The thing is that wire is not as forgiving as rope. So
right. So anyway, we've gone back to the Zapco, and we are I've got my 9mm bags ready, and so I think we're going to go and start doing my splits into 9mm tomorrow or the next day when this wind dies down. We did see with 3 clips that we had some 25-30 mile an hour winds this last week and today. So I want to see how they reacted tomorrow morning. We're going to get out there and see how they did with this norther that's blowing in right now.
So what would you recommend for farmers that are starting that want to do like floating bags, Gordon?
Well, that's what we're using. We're using floating bags. We decreased the length of our lines. We went to 80 feet instead of 100 feet. And right now, I mean, we're still in the process of growing, and getting the first ones on the lines. So we're using just a single row. We're not double bagging them on each side of the line. Order early. Anything you order early. That's just, I mean, I know that was one of your comments in the workshops.
Yeah.
But Zapco line is like few and far between.
Yeah.
Zapco clips, we're not able to get any more until January. So
and you have to order, and then when you get it, you have to get it from Florida, right?
Right, we're getting it through Outlaw.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's partly because of the supply chain backup or what's going on, but we got some more Zapco line that we're looking for, like a 3 or 4 day window here, and we're going to install some more lines. And but there's no more line other than what we have to install, I think, until at least January or February also. So order early. And
yeah, definitely order early, because if your oysters are some of them an inch and a half,
exactly,
you'll be filling your bags up soon.
Yeah, I know. We got our 18 millimeters in, but I'm just it's just like day by day, we're just concentrating on, what to do day by day. I hate working like that, but it's a day to day, not a struggle, but a learning curve.
Yeah, but I
And
mean, you're new. You guys are new, and I mean, it just happens. But you have to
Right.
learn really, and it's site specific. So it's like you
Exactly.
have to learn
Exactly.
how to work your gear for the type of water environment
Yeah.
that you're in,
I
and then
learned
after
something
that,
weekly down here.
yeah, exactly. It's just trial
Yeah.
and error.
Well, I mean, you can see where we were on that map you put up. So
Yeah.
the north wind, it really hits us. That to me, it was a freak storm. That wind was coming from the west southwest, and I think actually what happened was it pushed the bag so hard that they bunched up at the ends of the lines,
Yeah,
and once one clip went,
they all
the
slide out.
the next one was not far behind.
Yeah.
And so I mean that's what we're doing right now. We're going to 3 clips, and so we'll see what happens. Uh, learning here every day, learning something every day. So
Yeah, we're reinforcing our bags. So
yeah. Definitely different from the farm I went and visited, Scott Morrison's farm over in Florida.
yep.
That bay is, what, a mile and a half wide, and I don't know, 5 miles long, something like that. The Indian Lagoon.
Yeah.
And Galveston Bay is 30 miles long and 20 miles wide.
Don't you have that
And
shipping channel right there beside you?
oh, the shipping
Yep.
channel, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those waves in the shipping channel, that's where they pick up their strength. And
Are people finding out like in the community more about like are people aware of like what you guys are doing out there? Or
we have people stop when we were installing the farm,
where it's like,
and
what are you doing? Like,
oh yeah. We were on Facebook, on the local Facebook page for the Bolivar Peninsula, and what's going on out there, and people were, oh, it's that's where the aliens are landing, and that's for airplanes taking off, and Hannah got on there and made a nice a review of what we're doing.
a nice PR kind of thing.
Yeah, and people were good for y'all. Congratulations. We're looking forward to your oysters. And
Texas
so,
seems to be very supportive of this whole new industry, which is really cool.
oh yeah. Everybody that we've talked to, I've had people stop and just, like you said, in the supermarkets, they're talking to us out there on the bay, and real interested in what we're doing, and so far very enthusiastic about it.
So in
Very
case people
supportive.
Want to ask you guys questions, how can they contact you all? Bobby?
We're on Facebook now. Barrier Beauties. Barrier Beauties is our Facebook page. We're on Instagram also. I think it's under the same Barrier Beauties.
Okay.
I mean, they can contact me by email. They can come out, and
work on the farm.
Come see what we're doing.
Work on the farm for a day for free.
Yeah. And actually, being 1,000 feet off of a Goat Island there, we're not really in anybody's fishing spot. So there's still people they like to get like right up there next to the Goat Island.
Yeah. And the crazy part is, Gordon, pretty soon your farm is going to be the fishing spot.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I've already put off some hooks and
Oh, have you
lures,
really?
yeah.
off the road. Yeah.
So Bobby, how can
Wow.
people reach you guys?
Our new Instagram is the Texas Oyster Company. But you can reach directly at me at the Oyster Company right here, LLC, established 2018 on Instagram and Facebook. I run that one, but also I'm trying to consolidate the Oyster Company to the Texas Oyster Company, slowly but surely. So, and you can email me at bobby.edwards@thetexasoystercompany.com.
Awesome. Well,
I'll
thanks,
make sure
guys.
that goes in the show notes whenever we post this to YouTube. So I'll get all that written down, and then that way when people go back, they can see that.
No problem.
Awesome.
Thanks. Thank you for that, Chloe. But anyway, well, I just wanted to thank you guys for just talking about this, just kind of like a status update, you know, how your farms are doing, and basically kind of like I hate to say it, like sometimes the trials, tribulations, and the blessings that are just going on in this industry, because you know every day on the water is a new freaking learning curve. It's a new thing to learn. But it sounds like you guys are doing great, and hopefully pretty soon there'll be other farmers online we'll have some more farms out there.
How many conditional permits have been issued so far?
There was one conditional permit set 2 weeks ago, and that was for a farmer out in Matagorda Bay.
Okay.
And we've got we're working on 3 more, 2 in Matagorda Bay and then 1 in Copano Bay. So hopefully, you know, probably by the beginning of next year, we'll have a total of 6 farms doing it. So
Sweet.
it's pretty cool. I like it.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming out and doing this talk. I loved it. I learned so much, and I'm so glad we got to talk to Bobby and Gordon. This has been so fun.
Well,
Thank you
for
all. I
inviting us.
really enjoy it.
Yeah, this was great. Well, stay tuned for our next Seaside chat that's coming up next month. And yeah, I hope you all have a great day.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.